The story begins in a small, quiet town where we get to know Paul and May in their school matcha. Paul had a crush on May and decided to ask her out on a date, and she eventually agreed. At the same time, we see Brian Flagg, a rebellious young man performing a dangerous stunt on his motorcycle. Meanwhile, Officer Herb Geigler was having an ordinary day without imagining the chaos that was about to happen. After a while, an old homeless man saw a strange meteor while walking in the sky, and it crashed near the forest. Curiosity led him to go check out the place with his dog. But the dog began to act strangely, sensing that something was wrong, and ran off in fear while the man approached the object and touched a sticky substance that stuck to his hand and slowly began to consume his body. We returned to Brian, who noticed that his motorcycle was broken, so he went to the workshop he worked at to get some tools, and later that night, he returned to fix the motorcycle. At that moment, he heard sounds coming from the forest, so he started paying attention and focusing. At that instant, the homeless man was trying to cut off his polluted arm, but something stopped him. Brian tried to grab him and noticed the strange sticky substance moving on the man's arm. Then he got up and ran away in desperation, and Brian kept chasing him. After a little while, Paul hit that man with the car while he was on his way to his appointment with May. Paul got out of the car to check on the man, and at that moment, Brian caught up. When he arrived at the place, Brian immediately asked what happened, but Paul defended himself and said that the old man suddenly appeared in front of him and seemed to be running away from him. May then suggested that they take him to the hospital, and the other agreed, but Brian warned them about the strange sticky substance that was eating the man's arm. As they helped the homeless man get into the car, he started mumbling and saying that something had fallen from the ceiling. Paul was surprised and didn't understand what he meant exactly, but May asked him to ignore it, and she thought the old man was just shaken from the shock. After a little while, Paul noticed that Brian was leaving, so he decided to stop him and said that Brian needed to stay to explain everything to the officer. The young man agreed, though not very willingly. They reached the hospital and requested help for the man, but at first, the nurse ignored those young people. Brian was very annoyed by the situation, even though Paul asked him to calm down and insisted that they speak to a doctor. Later, the nurse started taking care of them and explained that the doctor was busy with surgeries but sent the man to the examination room while they waited. Brian tried to calm the old man and said that everything would be all right. May noticed the young man's behavior and started seeing him in a completely different way. After a little while, Brian tried to leave, but Paul asked him where he thought he was going. Brian replied that he had done what he needed to do and said they knew his location and would find him. Then May and Paul stayed at the hospital, waiting for any information about the man's condition. The homeless man and Paul gave me a need to drink. He came in front of the cat and realized that the man's body was moving lightly, and he was afraid to get closer and closer, and the man was making strange reactions, and his eye was open on the other, and a need that really frightened him. He called the doctor immediately so that the man who looked like him had convulsions, and when they arrived, the doctor confirmed that the man had no signs of pure life, and when they removed the sheet from him, they discovered that the body was cut off due to an unknown acid. This made it clear that this is not normal at all. Paul, from his shock, ran on the phone to talk to the sheriff and inform him about God. And in the middle of the call, the sheriff Q80 asked him about the place and who was with him. And when he heard the names that were there, he immediately discovered the matter, especially in Brian, and started treating him as the main suspect in the whole night. Paul, and he was not talking on the phone, which scratched his mind that this creature was hiding in the ceiling, exactly above him, and suddenly he attacked him and fell to the ground. And the call was interrupted by the screams of the whole hospital. And he caught the attention of May. I ran to the place and met Paul, and the creature was a worker attacking him and eating him. She tried to help him and pull him away, but as she worked like this, his armor was cut off and separated from his body. The scene remained chaotic and very brutal, and the body of workers was atrophy in front of her eyes. May went into shock after what healed all in front of her, and she could not bear the situation. And in the other, he fell on her. And then the sheriff Herb arrived at the hospital and the team, and they tried to understand what happened to May. While she was still shocked, she told everything and she was shaken. But they did not believe her words. May's family, who have no other solution, they decided to take her home to calm down a little. And at this time, the warden ordered that the body be followed for autopsy and investigation, and he is fixing the world. Herb talks to another officer and assured them that they must find the person responsible for what happened quickly. But the words changed when the officer reported that the suspect was arrested. Salvation with Brian's arrival in the patrol car. May saw him arrive, and he stopped him in surprise before Brian left. He got very nervous that they were scolding him without any explanation, and at the same time, Scott, Paul's friend, was close to the hospital with his girlfriend, and he was trying to create a romantic atmosphere between them. But Vac wasn't interested, and she said she wanted to rest. Scott took advantage of the moment and went to the bag to answer another drink. And he didn't notice the strange movement in the grass and saw him. And when he came back, he found Jack not sleeping, and he decided to take advantage of the situation when she did not feel the need, and at this moment, the creature suddenly appeared and came out of the girl's body and attacked Scott. He was terrified and tried to escape, but the creature quickly controlled him and killed him brutally, and Vac's body was completely eaten and turned through this creature into a terrifying need. And we returned to Lammy, who tried to calm herself down at home. After all that she had healed in the hospital, she heard her family talking about what had happened. And her father was sure that Brian was behind all these crimes. And shortly after, Mia's mother went upstairs to see her. She tried to reassure her and asked her to rest, promising her that everything would be clear in the morning. Before she left, Mia asked her if she really didn't believe what she had said, but her mother avoided the topic and only confirmed that the important thing was that she was okay now. Once Mia was sure that the situation had calmed down, she escaped through the window, determined to investigate the matter herself. At that time, inside Scott's car, the creature had long since turned into a sticky mass, sitting and surveying the city. Meanwhile, on the other side, Brian was investigating the incident at the lab and another officer regarding what happened at the hospital, but no one believed him at all. Frustrated, he demanded a lawyer, which would have caused a big fight if the commissioner hadn't intervened. And since there was no evidence against Brian and they couldn't reach his family, he decided to let him go, despite the other officer's anger. After Brian was released, he walked away from the scene. Mike came up to him and tried to talk to him at first, but he ignored her, until she got out of the car and showed him the card, telling him that she was there to help with this situation. Brian responded mockingly and said that things don't work that way, and it was clear that he was very sympathetic towards Paul. Nevertheless, he stopped the conversation and said that he was tired and hungry before walking towards a small restaurant. Brian sat in the restaurant waiting for his order. Mai appeared and asked for his help. Skeptical, he asked her why she came to him now. Mai explained that no one believed what she had seen. Brian said he had just found the man homeless, with some strange substance on his hand. But Mai insisted that this thing had killed many people and was still spreading throughout the city. After hearing the story, she told the police. Brian also noticed that she might be under the influence of something, which upset Mai a lot when she felt that he didn't believe her either. She tried to leave, but noticed that the door was locked. At that time, Brian changed his approach, apologized, tried to calm her, and in the end, let her out. They were smiling while talking at that time. The officer kept coordinating the names with the officers who were conducting inspection campaigns in an area of the city, but they didn't find anything important. When he found that there were no results to report, he decided to stop the inspection for now and decided that the investigation would continue in the morning. Anxiety that kept increasing regarding this situation began to show on him. Later, the officer told the secretary that he had never seen so many murders happen during his time. He tried to calm him down, and she told him that he was doing what he should and needed to stay calm. In the restaurant, the waitress noticed that the sink was clogged and called her colleague to try to fix the problem. He tried several times but couldn't unclog it until something moved inside the drain. Without looking exactly, he put his hand inside to try to grab whatever was stuck, and in the end, he found a strange sticky substance. She was dead from fear, kept screaming and calling out to the young man. Mia and Brian noticed and ran to help. Brian prevented the waitress from getting close to her. The bolus and the three of them sat watching in horror, and the man is being eaten completely after a while. The creature moved quickly in the restaurant and jumped to the ceiling and attacked them. They ran away while they were terrified, and the monster kept kicking them out in the whole place until they knew how to hide inside the freezer. The cold prevented the creature from entering behind them, and they remained silent while they watched him return. The waiter was trying to escape. I got out of the window that leads to the corridor next to the restaurant and ran on a public phone to ask for help, but the creature got it and started covering the telephone booth. All of them, despite their desperation, know how to speak the name. And she discovered that Sheriff Herb went to the restaurant while looking around her. She glimpsed the sheriff's thoughts inside the creature and entered into shock, and without any chance of escape, the creature ate it. It was also the faces of the frozen cat. Brian and May came out cautiously from the place where they were hiding, trying not to catch their eyes. And when they got out, Brian called the waitress. But quickly he noticed that the restaurant was completely destroyed and there was nothing for her. Mr. slipped in the middle of that destruction onto the remains of the creature behind him, and that made him immediately pay attention and be careful. Based on that, they decided there was nothing else they could do there and chose to go look for help. At that time, Officer Mark was walking down the street and heard a sound coming from the direction of the restaurant. As he approached to see what it was, he spotted the creature on the ground, but quickly went down into the sewer, and out of fear of what he saw, he decided to enter the restaurant. He found the place completely destroyed. While exploring, he reached the freezer section and found traces of the creature spread on the snow. Curiosity made him decide to collect some samples to analyze them, even without understanding the danger of what he was dealing with. Then Brian and May arrived at the name, looking for the officer, but they discovered he was walking with the other officers to the kin forest. Brian realized at that moment that it was the same place where he had found the homeless man. When they reached the forest, the two of them found an abandoned patrol car and signs that the officers they quickly left the place, so they decided to continue walking in the forest to look for them. While on the way, May asked to stop after hearing a strange sound, and Brian also sensed that something was around them. Suddenly, a strong light filled the area along with a very strong wind, and the two started running, terrified. Soon after, airplanes appeared above them and men wearing biological protection suits entered the area. Brian and May, scared, tried to escape, but armed men surrounded them and prevented them from moving. At that moment, a man named Dr. Meadows approached them and said he came to help them. They were taken to a containment area, and the team began interrogating them. Brian, feeling frustrated and suspicious, lost his temper and grabbed Meadows, demanding clear answers about what was happening. The doctor then introduced himself and explained that he was part of a biological containment team responsible for dealing with out-of-control infectious threats. May didn't fully understand the situation, and Meadows tried to calm her, saying that they were dealing with dangerous microscopic creatures. Zabit Begez turned around and asked Brian what he was doing there, and explained that the team didn't have time for his reckless actions. A little while later, Colonel Hargis arrived as well, and Meadows said that Begez already knew the plan and that the operation to contain the city would begin. After Begez left, May asked the other what was really happening. At that moment, the doctor revealed that the matter was related to something that came from space and explained that a meteor. May still couldn't grasp it. Meadows began to explain his theory in detail, saying that dinosaurs had dominated the Earth a long time ago, but suddenly Brian interrupted and asked how that relates to what's happening. Meadows said that a meteor carrying bacteria hit the planet. Brian responded in disbelief and asked if he really thought it was killer bacteria. Meadows said he had been aware of that possibility and prepared for this type of incident a long time ago. At that time, in the cinema, an employee in the projection room noticed that it had become very hot and asked his colleague about the air conditioning, who said it was working normally. The feeling that something was wrong remained, and he was discovering the matter more. The employee was surprised by the creature, and it attacked him inside the room. Shortly after, his colleague also arrived, and the monster killed him without anyone outside noticing anything because the sound from the movie covered any scream or movement. The audience continued watching very normally, not knowing at all what was happening in the display cage or elsewhere. Brian took them to the containment area and explained that all of this was temporary, just because they needed to isolate the creature and make sure there was no contamination danger. Brian explained that he was not satisfied and did not trust them, and even though the doctor insisted that this was a necessary and temporary procedure, Brian tried to convince Mia to escape with him on the motorcycle, but additional guards arrived and ordered them both to get into the transport vehicle. Without any objection, they got in the vehicle and were taken far away. On the way, Brian tried to open the door and said he intended to leave the city because he did not trust this situation. Mia tried to calm him down and said that the team was there to help, but he continued not to trust. Mokna Arif decided to open the door in the end and called her to come with him, but she refused because she wanted to find her parents. Faced with this insistence, Brian pressured her once more, but without changing her mind. In the end, he got into the car and she walked. At that time, the clients spread across the city and began isolating the residents. Quickly, she met her parents in the midst of the chaos, and in the middle of the commotion, Mia realized that Kevin was not with them and suspected that he lied to secretly go to the cinema with Eben. She was frantic with worry and tried to convince one of the clients to immediately look for the children, but he ignored her, and her father was busy arguing with the man. Mia took advantage of this distraction and escaped. At the cinema, Kevin was watching the movie normally until the creature appeared and attacked people inside the hall. spreading terror throughout the place. Mia arrived a little later and found the cinema engulfed in chaos, with many people being eaten right in front of her eyes. Amidst all this turmoil, she figured out how to find Kevin and Eddie and tried to get them out before the creature got to them. While they were running through the corridors, Kevin got stuck in the back exit door, and it was crucial for Mia to move quickly to free him before the creature arrived. The monster was now right behind them. Finally, Kevin freed himself, and shortly after, the group discovered they had entered a dead-end corridor. Without wasting time, Mia decided to use the manhole as the only solution in front of them. They went down into the sewer and continued running inside. At the same time, Brian, while trying to leave the city, noticed that the agents had left the area. He decided to hide his motorcycle so he could scout without anyone noticing, and eventually reached the place where fragments of the meteor were collected. By chance, he overheard a conversation revealing the truth about this creature. During the discussion, Medusa explained that this creature had undergone a mutation and became a form of life capable of growing and dominating humans. Another scientist expressed concern about the incredible speed of this growth and warned that this threat could completely get out of control. Nevertheless, the colonel saw this situation as an opportunity. Strategy and Medusa designed that everything could still be caught up if they managed to capture the creature before it spread any further. And he also clarified that no one is allowed to leave the city, keeping the residents isolated under the pretext of quarantine. After a while, the team discovered that the creature was in the sewers along with several survivors. Medusa ordered them to bring the creature at any cost, even if civilians were sacrificed. Brian, when he learned about this, tried to act, but was eventually discovered after attacking an armed agent. He escaped from the forest, and the operation men chased and shot at him, but he managed to escape and enter a sewer after getting lost near a bridge. At that time, Medusa discovered that they could trap the creature if they closed the sewer network valves. May tried to escape with Kevin and Eddie, but the creature appeared again and grabbed Eddie while they were fleeing. Kevin managed to get to the other side, but May got stuck and told her brother to continue alone. The agents appeared and distracted the creature for a moment, allowing her to carry on. He ran into the alley, and at the same time, Brian arrived on his motorcycle and rescued her. Both of them escaped, but in the end, they had a motorcycle accident and continued on foot. On the way, they encountered a terrified man, and Brian pressured him to find an escape route, but Mai prevented the situation from escalating out of control. After escaping from the alley, Mai, Brian, and the man found an exit to the sewer, but in the end, they were trapped by Medusa's men, who ordered the sewer entrance to be closed on them, knowing that the creature would kill them. In a state of terror, Brian grabbed a weapon and caused an explosion to open a path, which allowed them to escape. The soldiers cornered the group, and Brian tried to reveal that the whole operation was built on lies. Although Medusa ordered them to shoot, Bayouis began to doubt the truth and refused to follow the orders. Before the confrontation continued, the creature appeared suddenly, dragged Medusa into the sewer, and killed him. As the situation spiraled out of control, the colonel ordered them to attack the creature with explosives, but that only made it angrier. The creature appeared again, and it was giant in the middle of the city and started eating everything around it. In the midst of this chaos, Mia got separated from Brian, and the soldiers tried to use fire against the monster, but it was useless. Axmark was about to die after the fire touched him, but Mia managed to save him using a fire extinguisher. She tried to push the creature back while they were escaping, but the extinguisher ran out, and they got trapped, and the monster kept destroying the city. Brian appeared driving a snowplow car to try to stop it, spraying snow on the creature, but he realized that this wouldn't be enough. He decided to throw the car at the creature exactly, which caused it to flip in the middle of the chaos. Mia ran to help him and found weapons and explosives left by the soldiers who had died. She lured the creature into an ice warehouse and activated a bomb to freeze the monster, but her leg got stuck while escaping, and at the last moment, Brian managed to save her before the explosion completely froze the creature. After they both survived, they thought they had defeated the monster, but the part that Axe had taken appeared. And it grows again, and that means the danger is still present, and this is the end of the movie. We'll meet in a new summary, and thank you for watching.